afternoon, Anthony Adams. Or good evening.
Good evening, Ingram. It's a pleasure to speak to you again, my friend.
Before I begin the interview with you and really get into what's been going on in India with you, give us a bit of background as to who you are.
I'm a gentleman that's been involved in cricket for all my life. I played as a professional player for many, many years in minor leagues, and uh, I, I became a coach when I was 27, so I've been coaching for 30 years. Gosh, I just told you how old I was. Um, and basically, I've devoted my life to cricket, and my speciality is working on development of players from grassroots and taking them to the edge of first class and further.
Okay, in that time, have you worked with any star players or developed any star players of your own? Or
Yeah, several. I've worked with Dav Watmore, Justin Langer, Merv Hughes, Dean Jones, many of the wonderful players from Australia, particularly. Uh, I've had a number of boys now that are making their way up through the ranks that have played under 15 Australia, under 17 Australia, under 19 Australia. After teaching when they were little lads, they're making their way up. I've been involved in coaching in every state in Australia, teaching at high schools, private schools. I have a number of international students which I coach privately here in Australia. And as you know, Ingram, very well, I've done 5 tours of India.
wow. So, why do you coach? What is it that makes you want to coach cricket? Because you know I'm a cricket coach as well. So, I want to know what your passion is. Why do you love coaching?
I think you summed it up very well, Ingram, when you said passion, because uh, the passion for the game, more than anything else. Uh, the love of sharing, I think, is more than anything else. And cricket's such a wonderful team sport that at the end of the day, you cannot beat it as far as being a contributor. But what gives me my drive and what gets me up in the morning is to see the development of players, to see the young ones not only develop as cricketers, but above all develop as human beings. Cricket is not just cricket. Cricket is a lifestyle.
Okay, okay. So, as a coach, do you specialize in maybe batting or bowling or fielding? What do you enjoy coaching most?
Well, I enjoy everything that I was able to do in cricket, and I wicket kept. I batted in every position. I was an opening bowler. I was a spin bowler. I'm an accredited umpire as well. So I have a good understanding of the game. I do not profess to know everything about the game, but with my longevity within the game, I'm able to get a very good grasp, and God gave me a very good ability to be able to communicate and also pass my message, which I think is my greatest gift. Uh, I do high class coaching in spin bowling, but I believe I understand all facets of the game.
Okay, what do you think are the ingredients to finding a good coach, or what a player should look for in settling to listen to a coach? What do you think a player should look for when they're looking for a coach? Because everybody today who gets a coaching qualification believes they're a coach. But when you look at them, for me, I like to look at what they produce as coaches. There are a lot of coaches who are actually really managers, but not coaches, managers, which means, for example, they're put in positions where they're already working with elite players. You know those sort of coaches I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
The ones that are putting, they're managing elite players already, and then they say, I am the coach of. But when you ask them, how much grassroots cricket coaching have you done? Zilch, Zito, none, never. They're just working with elite players. So when you're working with elite players, how much coaching are you actually doing? Next to nothing. What you're really doing is just preparing them for the games because they've already got the ability, and really mentally you're just sharpening them up and just doing very small technical things to make them go out there and perform each and every time. Your thoughts?
Interesting comments, because there's something that had a common thread there with me. What I have attempted to do with my coaching career is I like to coach at every level, whether it's coaching a first class player or coaching a young lad who was 6 or 7 years of age, who has never picked up a bat. I will explain to you something that a number of years we had a cricket program here called Inter Cricket, and I volunteered myself for the particular club I was involved with. to teach young children between 5 and 8 years of age each morning between the hours of 7 and 8:30 in the morning of a Saturday how to pick up a bat, how to hold a ball, how to catch. After that, I would then go and play. But I was also a club coach as well. I've also done all the increments and been involved in all the basics of running clinics with the test players. But you're right what you said about many coaches just go through the motions of getting a certificate on certificate 1, certificate 2. So what? I was coached by the best coach, Frank Tyson, yeah? Back in 1983, we had a the coaches seminar, and I was fortunate enough to be invited along. And we used to pay our $20 every Wednesday night. There was a group of 6 of us, and Frank and Jack Rose, who was the then coach of Victoria, the Sheffield Shield side, taught us how to coach. So how I've learned how to coach is through attrition, but watching the best players and coaches and how they operate and incorporating that into my style. So I agree with you. You're not a coach unless you've done every part of coaching. And so many guys now, they're just managers. Okay, mate, do your warm up. And the coach, the head coach these days has 3 assistants. He has his fielding coach, he has his strength and conditioning coach, and he has his batting coach. I mean, wow. I mean, what the really?
Exactly.
We as coaches have to be all-round coaches. A real coach understands every facet of the game, and it's not only on the field, Ingram.
It's
It's
off the
also
field.
off the field. I'm
Key.
talking about the history of the game. I'm talking about etiquette. I'm talking about rules. I'm talking about discipline. I'm talking the whole gamut of things. So when we talk about cricket, cricket's life encumbering, and we see, as I say, and you mentioned too, most of them are managers these days. Mate, I'm hands-on. I do every bit of it. So take my word for it. What you see is what you get. You get 100% from Adams. You don't get 98 or 99. You get 100% of me. I'm just a full-on driven cricket person.
So, okay, the reason of my interview, let's cut to the chase. The reason of my interview is because I read some very disturbing messages from you talking about having to flee for your life and situation like that from India, a place that you've toured many times, and a place that, as a young kid, I always had dreams of coming to India and coaching in India. As a kid, the mystery of how a ball would spin, it always fascinated me, even up to now, to be able to go to India and to watch some of the best spinners in the world, doing their art like magicians. That has always been a dream for me as a coach. And hopefully this year I'll be going to India. But I want to hear from you your experiences of India, and more pressingly, this last visit to India, which disturbed me very, very much.
Well, I'll give you a brief summation of how I eventually got to India, or originally got to India in the first place. Was that my brother Bruce Adams has set up an academy in Chhindwara in Madhya Pradesh, and he's built a cricket stadium there with some 600 students. He invited me to come over in 2009 and be the head coach with 2 other Australian coaches, Mohsin Sheikh, a former Pakistani coach now coaching in Queensland at the Centre of Excellence, and another fellow by the name of Blake, who is a cricket coach from Canberra. Before that, the Rajasthan Cricket Association had invited me here and offered to pay my fares to coach the under-19 elite boys from Rajasthan for a 10-day camp. So I taught at a school in the morning at the Maharaja College. In the afternoon, I conducted the camp. The camp was running 43 degrees plus every day. It was the hottest Indian summer in history. After that, I went to Dholpur, a very poor village. I went and coached there for another 14 days. And then I headed off to my brother's academy for 25 days and coached there. After that, came back to Australia, coached again, did my stuff, then came back again in 2010. Did the same thing, went and coached at my brother's academy with 2 new coaches. We ran massive clinics. We mainly looked after the poor, teaching the basics of cricket and getting cricket developed in this particular town in MP. And in 2011, I thought, well, gosh, it's about time I decided to go out and do my own thing. So I made an acquaintance on Facebook by the name of Momin Khan. He was a gentleman who purported to be a member of the Calcutta Night Riders. Said that he had many poor people surrounding him who needed help. I said, well, I'd be quite willing to help, and set up an academy in his town of Merit, not far from Delhi. I flew over there and subsequently lost 10,000 Australian dollars. This fellow, once taking my money, he and his brother drove me to a drain. They opened the windows, covered their mouths. I breathed in. That was the end of me. I was on a plane the next day, got home, was bedridden for 3 months, lost 12 kilos, and thought, why did I do this? The next year I decided, get back on your horse, come back to India. I advertised for a manager. I found a fellow who was another crook, unfortunately. And what he did, he took me around to 27 different stops, which included universities, schools, academies. I did 27 stops in 63 days. I said, you can keep half the money. I want the other half to go to scholarships. I funded the tour. All I asked for is a roof, and also I asked for is food and my travel. I pay my own airfares. Basically, what happened was that he kept all the money. So I came back here again, thinking, well, India's a wonderful place. It is, because you meet wonderful people. They love cricket. They're cricket driven. But unfortunately, sometimes you're going to meet the bad eggs. And if you have a good heart, the advantage will be taken. Anyway, this year, I got a contact through LinkedIn, and they said, please, Mr. Adams, could you come and coach in the Goa Professional League? I said, fine, I'd be happy to do that. How much money do you want? I said, I don't want anything. Okay, we'll pay your fares, we'll give you 5-star accommodation, you'll have the best team. So subsequently, I went to Goa. We had the best team. We had 3 IPL players. We had 5 boys that had played first-class cricket. And, well, it was pretty messy after that. We played 4 games and lost every one of them. 3 we should never, ever have lost. Unfortunately, there was match fixing going on. My captain was involved in that. I'll give you a good example. We'd go out and have a look at the wicket. I'd say it's a great wicket to bat. He'd bowl. He'd instructed one of his players to go out and bat. When we did bat, he faced 30 balls for 12 runs, T20 game, and it was not a good situation. Little did I know that a fellow there who befriended me was saying, why don't you come and run the talent camp for the Sunrisers, the IPL team? I said, gosh, that'd be a good experience. How much do you want? I said, nothing, just a roof, food and travel. Fine. So off we went, and 25 boys appeared in Hyderabad. Me thinking that this was part of the IPL. I arrived there, we had no ground. I said, what are we going to do? He said, I don't know. So I ferreted around. We managed to find a ground after 4 days. The boys were becoming very disenchanted. I had to put them through the gym and swimming every day. Then we finally had our ground. We had to travel 30 kilometres there and 30 kilometres back every day in an un-air-conditioned bus in 40-degree heat. The boys responded very well, but they kept asking me a similar thing. Sir, the first game's on tomorrow. Will we be sitting in the dugout with the players? I said, well, not to my knowledge. And the other questions were, sir, will we be training with the Sunrisers? I don't know. Anyway, the owner, Mr. Vijay Bahare, Rapesh, Ishant, whatever his name was, came and said, tell the boys we will have 10 sessions with the Sunrisers. This did not happen. Some boys had actually mortgaged their family homes, sold their jewellery of their mothers, taken mortgages from money sharks to come to this camp.
No.
They paid between $4,000 and $16,000 to be coached. I was promised.
Hold on. Is that Australian or is that Indian? And then how much does that convert over?
No, it was 2 lakh is $4,000. Yep. 1 lakh is $2,000 Australian. Yep.
Right.
4 lakh is 8,000. 8 lakh is 16,000. Yep.
Yep.
So subsequently, many of these boys were complaining. In fact, some were coming to my room and crying, saying, "Gosh, my mother looked at the game last night, sir, and she did not see me in the dugout." And it was very, very distressing for me. And I didn't know what to do. So I approached the owner and said, "Look, we've got to train with the Sunrisers." "Oh, that'll be happening in a few days." It didn't happen. Then the owner would nick off to Mumbai or Delhi, then come back, leave me holding the baby. Keep in mind, I was promised a doctor, a physio, and an assistant coach. I didn't have anything. I had to run this whole thing by myself. Yeah?
Oh.
So at the end of the day, what had happened was that after 22 days, I'd had enough. And I fronted this VJ character and said, "You have scammed these boys out of their money. In fact, these boys are getting nothing other than me coaching them using a 5-star hotel, a swimming pool and a gymnasium." So the boys complained and complained and complained. On the 24th day, I had had enough because we still hadn't trained the Sunrisers. In fact, I don't even think the Sunrisers knew we existed. And how disappointing, because the coach of Sunrisers is Tom Moody, and he was a former Australian player from Western Australia. So, as you can see, it was very embarrassing. And I told this VJ character, "I've had enough. I'm going. I don't want to be part of any scam. One, you're robbing the children. Two, they've had to beg for this money to get here. And three, you're a dishonest creature." It was very difficult for me because this fellow was capable of anything. I was threatened, I was abused, and I basically had to make my own way back to Mumbai. He
Wait.
said,
When you said you were abused and threatened, give me examples.
like, if you tell anybody about what's going on, that will be the end of you. And you kind of take that as a threat.
Yes.
I do anyway. Anyway, he came back and he said, "Look, I'm sorry, please forgive me." But he did tell me one thing that disturbed me greater than anything else. The second last night before I left, we'd often have dinner together. I was always uneasy having dinner with this fellow. He said, "I've got to tell you something. You know the Sunrisers versus Pune game? I fixed that with the owner." I swallowed my food, I excused myself, and I walked off in disgust. And I went to his room after that and I said, "I am going. I've had enough of you. I've had enough of your tricks." And he lost it with me. He's only a little guy. I'm not a big guy, but I got up and I said, "Well, if you want a tango, son, let's go dancing."
Never heard that one before. That's a new expression.
Yeah, I got some good ones. Anyway, so at the end of the day, I went
And
back.
he can.
Yeah, that's Charlie. And anyway, at the end of the day, I went back to my room and had a knock on the door and, sorry, sir, VJ at the door. I said, "I don't even want to let you in my room. Please forgive me, please forgive me." Well, I let him come into the room. I didn't forgive him. And he said, "Look, I'll give you some money, give you some money." I said, "Well, what do I want money for? It's already cost me money to be here. I'm shelling out for my phone bill. I'm shelling out to even have a drink down at the restaurant. You're just letting me use the buffet." May I just add this? I had to be up at 10 to 6 every morning and my work didn't finish till 2 in the morning. And I'll tell you how that was broken down, was that I was up at 10 to 6. All the boys had to report for breakfast at 10 past. We'd have our breakfast. We'd get on the bus. It'd take us between 45 minutes an hour to get to the ground, which was 30 k's away. We'd train for 4.5 hours. We'd get back on the bus. It would take us an hour and a half to 2 hours to get back because of the peak of traffic. And Hyderabad is a crazy place. We'd come back, the boys would have a rest, have lunch. I'd then take them to the swimming pool. They'd swim for an hour and a half. They'd then have a bit of a rest. We'd then meet and have dinner. After that, we would have a team meeting for an hour and reviewing the day. After that, I would then speak to VJ on how the day went. I would then have a glimpse of the IPL, and then I'd sit down and do my research on the players and prepare for the next day. And I can tell you it was a full day because I had to manage all the injuries. I had to manage all the complaints. I had to manage the psychology and the morale of the whole team. and also structure everything. So as you can appreciate, being an Australian with English extraction, at the end of the day dealing with 24 boys that couldn't speak much English at all, this was a task, and a very difficult task, which was not appreciated. So as you can see, I was worked to the bone. I was told lies. I had to not cover up, but I told the boys the truth. You're not going to be playing IPL, son. And then when I got the call, one of the boys knocking on my door saying, "Sir, my mother did not see me in the dugout," and he started crying, and this boy was 23. I went, "I feel so sorry." So I interviewed the boys one by one and found out how many lies had been told and how much money they'd paid. And each boy had differed. After I'd asked Vijay Bahate, Rapesh, Vibar, alias Nishant, "How much do you charge each boy?" He said 1.5 lakh, which is 3,000. And when no boys paid that, because everybody paid between $4,000 and $8,000. So you can imagine how much money this guy made. And may I say that Rajasthan Royals had a similar experience the year before, where he ran a camp. He did the same thing, promised the boys they'd play IPL, practice with a team, sit in the dugout. So I hope I've given you a fairly rounded picture, and it's not a one-sided picture, because I battled through knowing after a few days this was a scam. The only reason that I kept going with it because I felt so sorry for the boys. Some had travelled thousands of miles to come to this camp. If you look on the map and see where Mohali is, and when you see where Hyderabad is, you realise that most of them coming from there is a long, long way. That's my story, basically. In the end, I got the threats and the abuse once I said I was going to leave. I had to cajole him to get a ticket back to Mumbai. He said, "Look, I'll give you some money, give you some money." I said, "I don't want your money. I just want to get out of here alive. And honestly, you're going to pay for this." And I don't mean pay in any other way. I'm just going to spread the Lord, hallelujah. And I am going to spread the word. And he's going to get his. And I've been on my Facebook, as you can see. I've been putting posts up there. And you know the worst thing about it? All the boys have turned against me now.
You're joking. You're joking.
I'm not. If you look at I've had to unfriend nearly all of them tonight. It has been disgraceful. Calling me a liar, calling me a thief, saying that you've destroyed the camp. How did I destroy the camp? I wasn't getting paid. I was working my butt off. And then at the end of the day, these kids have been lied to. They got nothing that they were promised for. And then I was the bad person. When you deal with a bad criminal, always remember this, and I'm quite trained in dealing with these people, if you know my background, is that they'll play the left against the right and the right against the centre, and they'll create a chaotic, conducive state. What he's done now is turn the boys against me. So at the end of the day, I'm the one who looks like the fool. What have I lost? A lot of reputation. What have I gained? A lot of experience how to deal with criminals and thugs like him.
I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned because, you know, like I said, it's a dream to go to India and to coach. I mean, a man of your experience, let's say your cricketing experience, I mean, was there nobody else that you could have made contact with? I mean, obviously, Tom Moody would be the person I would have made contact with to find out before I even got on the plane, is this legit? I mean, there must be some way of making some legit, some sort of verifying these people, verifying who these people are.
You may say that that's quite easy, but let me see if you could contact Tom Moody. I'll give you a day to contact Tom Moody. These people are very difficult to contact because they are governed by privacy, and at the end of the day, the Indian people and the operators of these IPL places are very, very clever. I'm not saying they're scammers, but what they do is they have a very, very closed shop. So what I'm saying to you is that if anybody really wants to look up this character, go to RN Sports Club Mumbai, have a look at the posts there. One particular woman was robbed of 50,000 rupees. We might say $1,000 is not a lot, but in India, it's a year's wages, and this poor girl got screwed for that money. The other thing is have a look at RN Sports on Wikipedia. You'll find that they owe Rajasthan Royals a lot of money. So they have got a track record. The other crew is Cricket Gurukul. What they do is they use middlemen, they use agents, they let the agents say what they want to the kids, and bang, the kids come thinking that they're going to get the world. Now, I've got these young lads saying to me, you wrecked this camp, and my answer to them is simple. I didn't wreck it. I just got away like I advised them to. Get away as well because you're being cheated. I've done nothing wrong, and I will maintain my reputation as being honest. And I have nothing to hide. Thus, I'm doing this interview for you. I'll tell you who I am, where I live. You can check me on LinkedIn, check me on Facebook. And as you can see, I don't cover under an alias, but this guy's got 4 different names, for God's sake.
I can understand. There's a lot of people on Facebook pretend to be people that they're not. I've had experience with that same Moim Khan. He said they'd give me a plane ticket. He said they'd get this and that organised. Never happened. Never happened. When it came to signing the contract, it never happened. It never happened.
Well, he got me for $500,000, which is $10,000, and I'm not a wealthy man by any stretch of the imagination. So you can imagine what that sort of losing that sort of money without an outcome does to me. I'm happy to give to the poor. May I just share a little story with you?
Of course you can. Feel free.
I was at Mumbai Airport waiting out the front of Gate C of Emirates to get my plane on Saturday night. I waited there for 6 hours. It was about 36 degrees and about 90% humidity, and it was jolly hot. And VJ said, I'll be coming to see you, I have something for you. So I waited and I waited and I waited. And every 15 minutes he'd message me, I'm on the way, I'm on the way. And then 15 minutes before my window closed to get on the plane, I thought, hang on, he's just joking. And then he sent me a message. You're pretty angry now, are you, Dada? And I thought, you so-and-so, you just set me up again. But what gave me a bit of joy, this old fellow hobbled along to me. He looked reasonably well dressed. He said, sir, he was a man in his 70s. He said, I've been pickpocketed. I've come from Jaipur. I live in England. And what's happened is I've got no money. And I looked at him and I thought, well, so I opened my purse and I gave him 2,000 rupees. I only had 3,000 in there, which is nothing, right? Gave him the money and said, here's another 100, have something to eat. He said, thank you, sir, and he hobbled off. I'm not to say, and I don't normally talk about acts of kindness because you shouldn't, but what I'm saying was that made me feel better than anything else I did on that whole trip, because at least I could leave with a good memory, and I'm proud of that bit happening. I'm proud of how I coached those boys. I'm proud of how I treated them, and I'm proud that I actually stuck to my guns, that I can't live a lie, and I refuse to. I've never said I'm a level 3 coach. I'm a level 1 coach. I've coached many, many players, and at the end of the day, I'm an experienced, qualified man who does know what he's doing, and I've had a lot of success, and I've gained a lot of respect in my country and also in India as well. But that is my way of going.
Okay, Anthony. What advice can you give young Indians listening to this conversation that would, be tempted by an agent? What can you give them to check out and to verify these people beforehand?
That's a good question, and that's one that I thought long and hard about, was that I've got 2 things to say about that. Any young budding cricketer in India should always make sure they're working with an accredited BCCI academy or coach. Any cricketer who wants to be managed should be managed by an accredited person. Check their background, know that they are real, and see their credentials. But often, unfortunately, people put on rubbish on their LinkedIn, or they won't do it on LinkedIn, but they'll do it on Facebook, and you'll get tricked like I did. So my advice to any young cricketer, be as good as you can be, but also make sure that you ask the right questions. I'm a man of experience, and yet I've been caught a couple of times. So if I've been caught, how does the young Indian not get caught? Yeah, and it's a different society. Look, I love India for the right reason because they're cricket passionate, and I like working with young people. What I don't like is the people that prey on kind-heartedness, and I don't like people abusing women. I don't like people hurting young children, and to me, this has been a perfect case of that. And unfortunately, I've got to wear it, but I've lived most of my life, and at least I can walk down the road with my head all high. Haven't got a pocket full of money, but I've got a heart full of gold, and that's more important to me.
Anthony, will you ever go back to India after these experiences?
I said to myself after the Momin Khan incident and the train incident, I can't go back. But psychologically, I had to go back because I thought to myself, Indians are not all like this. And then I went back again, and then something similar happened in a different way. Then I went back again, and something happened in another way again. And they're clever. They tag team, they work in pairs, they work in groups. And I've got to say to you, you can never say never, right? But there's an acronym for India, and you've probably heard of it, right? India stands for I'll never do India again. Work it out. India, I'll never do India again.
Wow.
Yeah?
Wow.
But in saying that, I could go to a lot of other places. Look, I was offered the Afghanistan under-19 job 2 years ago. And I would have been a lot more safer going there than I was in India. I've made friends in Pakistan, I've made friends in India, I've made friends all around the world. To me, fight your battles on the cricket field or do it in a boxing ring. But for heaven's sake, if you want to fight a person through your pocket, get a life.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I hope to go to India in November. And I've been talking to a good guy, Swapnil. I've spoken to him for a number of years. He's the guy that helped design the www.ingramjones.com website. It's because of him. So, you know, we're looking to do some development work with the Indians and with his cricket club over there. It is something that you know, as I said, I bumped into Moen before and I've spoken to him online. And even up to now, after what he did to me and tried to con me, he even tries to talk today. Sorry, sir, I didn't mean it. I'm a new man. Let's try again. So, you know, it's crooks. I can't believe. And the thing is, that like if they've done nothing wrong. That's what I don't understand. I don't get it.
Well, what I don't get is that you seem like a very kind-hearted person, like I am too, and you'll put yourself out for others. And I've watched your posts, and I've watched your videos, and I've followed you closely. And you're an amazing person. I've always said that, Ingram. You know, you're a man of vibrance, you're a man of great character, and you're a man of great desire of achievement. But let me tell you, that's where we get caught because we like to climb mountains and we like to see doors that open for opportunity. And then I just remember quite distinctly that you said that this guy that you've been dealing with, even today, he did something. My brother, who's very astute and has done India probably 30 or 40 times now, has said to me, it takes two to tango. And I went, what the tango? I said, man, this isn't a dance. This is a one-way fight. And I'm the one that's getting belted. And he went, oh, okay. And then he trotted out the old one of there's crooks everywhere. Well, there's crooks living next door. I mean, just look closely over your fence. What we don't know is the different styles that they use. Yeah? And believe you me, if I can offer you advice, I always think I'm a clever researcher and an analytical person, but sometimes too smart for my own good. Go to Wikipedia first, do the LinkedIn search, yeah, do the Facebook search, and then don't get 5 references, get bloody 10 of them for when you go to India, I'm telling you. And these guys that design things and that make things up, a lot of them, that's exactly what they do. They make these bloody things up, and there's no credence to them whatsoever. This is where I get caught. Because I think, what a fascinating idea. What a wonderful thing you're doing. Oh, well, that'd be great to be involved with an IPL team. And I'm just falling flat on my bum, but I'm smart enough to pick myself up shake myself down, and get ready for the next one. You know what I mean?
What about
And
what about the BCCI? I mean, you know, the India Cricket Board. What about them? Where do they get
well,
involved with this?
that's an interesting one. You see, because now I read the papers religiously, and now what they're doing is they're getting very, very clever. They made a statement that they're not interested in having very many more foreign coaches coming over. And you know why? Because most of them get ripped off. Now what the BCCI wants to do, like I've wanted to do for a long time, is to get every academy in India accredited.
Right.
Now, what happens is when you don't have it accredited, is at the end of the day, these cowboys, shall we say, can charge their students and do what they want with them and tell them what they want, give them false dreams and false hopes. And so, as you can appreciate, this is what happens. So, look, I don't give a fig about giving back to India. I give a fig about people. It's not about the country. It's about the people. It's about the type of people. Because for every bad person, you meet 100 good ones.
Could you
And
could you look it down to the point that you were unfortunately dealing with unprofessional people, and really boils down to that?
no, not at all. That's contrite. Because let me tell you why. If
Okay.
you call Vijay Bahade unprofessional,
Yeah.
I'll laugh, and I'll tell you why. Because he was a master crook,
He's
and
professional at what he does in terms of being a crook. He's obviously professional at that.
But professional can be very loosely used and used in many contexts.
Mm.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, but what I'm saying, it's basically what I'm saying to you is that, look, if I said I coach at a school and I coached here and I coached there, that's where I coached. But if a person said to me they played Test cricket and they played for England, they played for Swansea and they played for Leicestershire, I didn't do any of that. I'll never tell anybody I did that. Why? But these people will tell you, and you watch, you'll get so many saying to you, I played first class cricket, sir.
Yeah.
Well, hang on.
Where?
Yeah, but hang on. Where? I mean, I used to get this all the time. And then you do a background search and you found that they played district cricket in a small association in Delhi. And I'm going, hang on, I played 400 games of A-grade cricket, but I probably played one third class match against Shane Warne and Justin Langer and all that back in Darwin, and I worked with them doing lots of clinics and all of that over the years. And I coached 18 clubs in Australia. That ain't a lie. And I mean senior clubs. And I've worked at 20 schools in Australia. That ain't a lie. So at the end of the day, I only say what I did. But if you've got 1.6 billion people and only 12 people play for the country, you can't have 400,000 Test cricketers. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. I mean, there was an American movie called The Flim Flam Man.
Yeah.
And there was an even better one that was made from England. And this was the best con movie I ever saw. You know the guy, Arthur Daly, what was that movie? I can be so good for you. And they worked.
Was it Minder? Wasn't it Minder?
The Minder.
Minor.
You know, Terry.
Yeah.
No, you've got to check this one out. Terry plays a priest,
Yeah.
right? And he's in America and he plays a priest. He's not a priest at all. And he cons them all. It's one of the best movies. If I can remember the name of it, you should see it. This epitomizes what some people are like. I shouldn't just say Indians because there are people all over the world like this.
Yes.
They're people that dress up like priests, right? And what they do is shoot people in the head. Yeah. So my point is this. There are many people, let's use the analogy of a wolf dressed up in lamb's clothing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know what a person is until you really get to know them? And may I give you a good example? Just have a look and do a background check on Merrick Pringle,
Yes.
former Test player from South Africa,
Yes.
and just see what happened to him in the last 2 months. If you understand how the Indians bet, they bet on how much they score, how much they'll be after 10 overs, what the unders and overs are. They'll bet on balls, on wides, on everything. So this guy from the small island, not your islands, from the small island, went out there and I'll tell you off air who it was, and you can look at the game and you tell me if this wasn't set up. He went and played the ball. There was a gate wider than the Thames River, and the ball went through and knocked his middle stump out of the ground, and off he walked. I don't think he was too worried because he had 50 large coming to him when he came off. Nice one. That's a fact. Yeah. So you can see what we're dealing with here, and you can see that money is power in India. Knowledge is not power. It's only a co-association with the money, Ingram. That's how it works. Yeah. So to answer your question, I probably won't go to India again. I think I'm over it now. I think if I went there again, it'd probably get the better of me, and I'd probably start, shaking a few tins, and that ain't good. I'm one tough ass coach. Let me tell you, nobody messes with me. I nearly use the F word.
Yeah.
Nobody messes with me when I coach.
Yes.
I run a tight ship, bloke. At the end of the day, I like punctuality. I like people that listen, and I want results. That's my drive, mate. That's why the Indians love me, because I'm a tough ass coach, and I don't do any messing around. I don't give them a belting. I just make them do push-ups, mate.
Yeah.
And I'll say at the end of the day, you can have arms like Arnold Schwarzenegger, all right, or otherwise you're just going to walk home and cry to mummy. You can have the choice. Or the third one is you can listen and become a good player.
Yeah.
Because just remember this, we can tell them what to do, but we can't do it for them, mate.
Absolutely not.
And you can't. And it's how you put the message across. And with Indians, you've got to be bloody hard with them, because otherwise they'll walk all over you.
Oh, yeah.
You do that to an Englishman or you do that to an Australian, and they'll tell you to go jump. So
Yes.
You've got to talk measured, boys, and be logical. With the Indians, you just got to be tough and just be straight down the line. And it's yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. And if I get anybody messing up, I give it to them. I'll say, listen, mate, you go hard or go home. Don't play games with me. I'll tell the Indians that. And I'm here to build teams. I'm not here to build individuals. I'm here to help individuals to be part of a team. That's my philosophy. And that's my drive. You probably found out more about me than most of those Indians have in the last hour, put in a lifetime, yeah?
Yes.
But I got nothing to hide. I'm warts and all, mate. What you see is what you get. There's no frills and fancy bits. I just want results. And over the years, I've had them. I've been reasonably successful in what I do, but I don't carry a big banner over my head saying I'm the greatest, and I don't dance like a butterfly and sting like a bee. At the end of the day, I just want boys to turn into men and be good people and good players. That's the bottom line to me, Ingram. That's my work.
Anthony Adams, thank you so much for talking to me.
You're most welcome, Ingram. It's been an absolute pleasure, you wonderful man. And I hope. Look, I know we'll speak again, brother. And you keep in contact.
I will.
There's a great warmth and radiance about you. I really enjoy engaging with you. And importantly, I'm sure we'll do a couple of gigs in time to come. And you stay well. And my love to your family and you, and to all the cricketers in England. And God bless you, my friend.